Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian from Tribeca Trade Group, and it is Tuesday, October 20th. We'll recap some of today's markets. We'll talk about some of the trades that we saw on the tape today and some of the movers. I think there's some interesting things that we came away with today for the overall market. Pretty much, if you listen to yesterday's video, and I promise I won't go on, went on. Yesterday's video was longer than normal, 30 minutes. And you can go back and you can review that because I really talked about some higher level points. This video, I'll get into a little bit of the price action. So let's do that in the indices for the day. But you can see change versus close, basically nothing. Almost a zero point 0.0 for the SPY Qs and small caps. They did finish down. The VIX finished up just a little bit for the day. Once again, I won't dwell on this, but again, the majority of the index move once again coming in the overnight market. And you can review yesterday's video if you want to hear me talk more about that, how the overnight move is basically where all the alpha is generated over time. This is basically what I talked about yesterday. I said that we could bounce, right? Yesterday we were basically showing this, right? And we were starting to bounce a little bit after the close. I said, hey, the S&P, it could bounce up to the bottom of value. Look at what we did today, right? So we did that up until 12 o'clock was the high point, and that was 3468. So, again, the roadmap that the market webs provide is ridiculously accurate, and that's why I use it so much, right? Somebody asked me in yesterday's video, what does you say value a lot, right? Well, this is what's called the value area, right? So this is based on all of last week's price, volume, and of course the time is a week. Why I use this so much is because look at the signals it gives. So really, volume at price and coming up with a little bit of what our proprietary methodology does and gives you support and resistance levels. I mean, they're pretty darn accurate, right? So what is this? So again, I always instead of talking about what previously happened. I'll give you my opinion, just as I did in yesterday's video, that it was not a good sign that we broke value yesterday. I think it's basically the same thing. Now, you had, a retest of the bottom of the value area, and it failed, right? So now we have to look at things like we're still holding this Venom line, which is 3421 and a half. But this is not major support. I like to refer to them as speed bumps. So if we cannot hold this in the overnight session, or for tomorrow that matter, I would be watching for 3396 to come up. And as I detailed in yesterday's video, this level comes up in two places. 3396 down here on the 1 hour time frame, as well as it repeats and it comes up. Wait for it. But you should see it come up here on the 5 minutes where there it is, 3395, right? So the longer that you stay below value, the more these things kind of act as magnets. Now, we can get inside value, which would be above, looks like tomorrow's value area is going to be 3431. All right. And again, if we kind of go back to this, we are trying to hold, price is trying to hold to the daily chart. So, that's a potential good thing. And by the way, what I'm referring to on these levels, again, I look at them because there's a lot of day traders in our trading room. I do a lot of swing trading, sometimes short, sometimes medium term, sometimes long term, depending on the name. But if you're looking to kind of estimate where we could kind of go in the short term, this is it, right? So this is very close. This 3421 is very close to the top of value. Now, a couple of things that could happen is we could come in here and we can test. And then sometimes what we've seen before, we can test and then we can come back up. But, I'm not sure that that's going to happen here. And to not be so negative, it will just take one good day of a rally for us to get back above this line. But until then, until we actually see that confirmation, I have to try to be on the more conservative side because that's what the indicators are telling me, right? Be on the more conservative side until we kind of, get a little bit away from, and when we've got a nice heavy bounce, you know, to kind of get us away from the top of value. So, and the Qs, are a similar looking picture. It does seem that these are a little bit more troubled, right? We've now seen how many days Qs? Is it 6 days in a row where we've seen? No, because sorry, we broke the streak today. Sorry about that. So Qs did finish up on the day. We saw 5 days of negative, right? So that streak has ended, and support is down here at 280.32. By the way, your small caps about the same performance for all three of the major indices, but the IWM sold off a little bit more, right? So that's the kind of look for now. So again, we are below value. We did that retest, which I said that we could get today, and the retest basically, it failed for the day. So we're kind of stuck in the middle, I would say, for now. We're still above value for the month, and if we do fall lower, we could take those two VPOCs down below, but that's how the market is looking. Let's talk about some of the more positive things for the day. So the solar names, unbelievable. This was a chart that I posted last night. We could look at both the solar ETF, but they did come out of the bull flag. So nice neat consolidation. CSIQ is the name that I traded and that I was looking at. I did point this out last night on Twitter. I put this chart. I was making a joke because it's Canada, but yeah, I mean this gave a nice trade setup for the day. I did not hold it all the way to the highs. I was kind of happy. It's kind of funny because this does happen to you sometimes. I'm trying to be as nimble, right, with this market, as I just showed you on the S&P chart. Price bounced and then we gave it back pretty quickly. So by chance, I got out of this, after a half hour. I could have stayed in it for a couple more hours, and actually this one stayed up there all day long. But it's one of those things where I did feel that the sellers were going to come back and take control of this market based on what these news stories, of course, are a major distraction for us. For everybody, but the price is number one, right? And the price is telling us that things are not that great, in terms of the short term. Again, I even tried to play some puts, and I think I was probably a little bit too early in that. I managed to take a profit target, and then with the Qs, we'll go back and we'll kind of look at this. Off of the 5-minute, we broke value. We did hold the game, and actually I think I was right to unwind those Qs puts. We did hold yesterday's low, which was important, and that's why I kind of put those puts on once we broke value, because either we were going to, I took one profit target on the check back to yesterday's lows. We bounced where we needed to, and once we got back into value, once we got back into the value area, I took off that trade, right? And I said if we break again, I will be happy to put those back on. We did not for the day. And of course, a couple other things that I traded was this PDD. I've been watching this PDD. If you're a fan of ARK Investments, Kathy Wood, which I know a lot of people are. I did note that ARK added to one of their portfolios some PDD. They, again, my opinion with this stuff is, if you look at the names that she added, not all of them went up, right? Another one that she added was this DOU. Right, this thing was down 4.4%. Right, so just like with option activity, what I tend to do is put these things into my system, right, this Doyu didn't have a chance at getting to the top of value. Didn't look like it had a chance to break out. The PDD did, right? And there it went. It also went on the 1 hour as well, and it took out. And we had this target, right, which was right around 89. And now we're kind of back in here, and we'll see if we can hold this level in PDD. So if you like this, a name that saw option activity after the momentum started for the day. Again, remember, a lot of the option activity, it's just guys who are playing momentum, right? They see a name up, they buy calls, short-term calls. But we have seen some positioning in this the last couple of days. That's what kind of also got me to kind of look towards that direction. So, we'll see if we can hold this 88.61, this R2 Venom. I think that'll be something to watch for tomorrow. Also, a few of the other Chinese stocks were pretty hot today too. And again, I tend to think that, until this election, that I am looking for more opportunities in some international areas of the market. I've been watching this K-Web. This was something that I made money on a couple weeks ago, and I haven't gotten back into it. I owned, besides the PDD that I traded today, I own JD.com. Baba, I think, did okay today, and a brokerage company also had a really nice setup today. This was up 11.3%. Remember, a couple weeks ago, I think it was last week, we saw all the Chinese electric vehicle companies go crazy. So it's been different areas of the China market that have ADRs have been, there's been a lot of trading opportunities there, right? So, but big move in this one, FUTU. Interesting symbol there. But yeah, I was quick with some of these, and then, I want to talk about some of these other things that are going on too. I think I kind of covered most of the day's trading. I did go back into PDD a little bit, took a target. I am holding the last piece of a short-term option on it. I traded a little bit of NVIDIA today too. Took two small targets and then out of the balance as it went back to my cost basis for the day. So again, depending on what time of day you traded today, I think the morning up until 12 o'clock was kind of going in I wouldn't say one direction, but there was some decent trading opportunities if you're really good at scalping, right? We talked about this a little bit in yesterday's video as well, that if you're a swing trader right now, it's a little bit harder, and you have to be disciplined. You have to be selling. If you're holding positions overnight, trying to sell some things around the open is optimal. And then being very nimble, right, with those positions until we kind of get out of this very choppy type market that we're in. But yeah, let's talk about bonds for a minute because they have a lot of implications, and then I'll swing over and talk about some of the earnings after hours. But look at this TLT, guys. It's now below the 200-day moving average, right? So a lot of people do not think that rates are going to go up on the long end of the curve. Remember, when we talk about the Fed, right, and what they're doing, right, they control the short-term rates. Now, they're also doing some things by buying, they are buying some further out treasuries, and they're buying they bought investment-grade bonds, or I should say they bought corporate bonds earlier in the year. And I think they're still doing that to some extent. But for the most part, the Fed controls the front end of the curve, right? Not so much, they're trying to keep long-term interest rates down as well, I believe. But, this is the TLT is the plus 20-year term bond ETF. And this is starting to break down, right? We had this failure here, right? Try to get back into the October value area and failed, and is now below the 200-day moving average. It hasn't been below the 200-day moving average since here. So this is really unusual, right, to see something like this. Now, again, why are bonds important, even if you don't trade bonds and if you're an equity investor? Because theoretically, it should be good for regional banks, right? The more that the yield curve slopes higher, the better that banks can make money off of borrowing and lending, right? Which is their primary business. All right, so keep an eye on a break on the upside of the 200-day moving average for KRE, right? So again, when TLT goes down, that means interest rates are going higher on the long end of the curve. All right, so and you could look at what it's TNX, right, which is the 10-year rate. So that's moving again. 10 years different than what I just showed you, which is the plus 20-year bonds. All right, so notable. I did take a trade in this. I do want to try when I see something different that I haven't seen in a long time. I'm going to take a stab at something. So I went long some USB, US Bancorp. This was a trade that I tried a couple weeks ago. Made a little bit of money on it and then bailed on it. I think rightly so with a bank trade. But this is one that I think is a quality bank name, and I'll give this thing a shot. It's consolidating at that 200-day moving average. I want to see it resolve higher. And again, it is above the 200-day moving average. But again, if I see something that's different and changing, speaking of other things that look really interesting, copper is above value now for the month of October. Right? So that is now, again, why is that important? Why do I keep mentioning the value area? Because it tells you when something is basically trading out of a range and has a chance to break out, right? Breaking out of a range, right? That's where I do a lot of my trades, right? I try to avoid the chop. I try to avoid trading in a tight range. I'm looking for bigger things than that. So that's why that is important to me. Also, we'll check on oil the next couple days. Oil is trying to move. It's trying to also get above that 200-day moving average and out of value. So that would be really exciting, I think. If we could put on a couple of energy, and again, I will only do that if things really, if just like with interest rates, if they start to really change personality and do things different, then I think that there's a possibility of some trades there. All right, so that's that, because I don't see it yet in this XLE, this or the XOP. So maybe oil needs to really get to move yet. So no trades on there yet, but I continue to watch for something different. But yeah, I mean, going back to copper, there was a trade that hit the tape in XME, right, which is the equally weighted metals and miners. Again, this is not exactly ready yet. I think we talked about this in yesterday's video. Similar type candle. Right, we're not showing big, powerful green candles, right? Like something like this. This was nice a couple days ago, but no follow through. So you may just have to be patient. That's what I'm doing. I looked at names like SCCO today, right? Everybody always loves this FCX, right? But the name that usually outperforms it is SCCO, Southern Copper. It just always seems to do that, even though, I guess the options are a little bit more liquid in FCX, but I like this name better. So again, copper doing something different. So it kind of goes along with, I said this, I was listening to Marco Kolanovich, I believe his name is, from JP Morgan. I believe he was on CNBC earlier, and he was talking about, being a little bit more, he's predicting, move into value, right? Well, we know how difficult that has been over the last couple of years. However, it's starting to make a little bit of sense to me in regard to, we heard about Google, right? And Google actually rallied a little bit on this decision or this law, this whatever the situation is with this with Google, right? But they're in their regulators' crosshairs, and it's the same thing for Amazon. It's the same thing for Facebook, right? So Facebook is up a little bit on Snap going up, but I think it's not like. I don't want to say that that's going to be the only factor for these companies going forward, but I think it's going to be more difficult, right? They've gotten to a certain size. And so maybe people start to move their money out of some of like the FANG stocks, considering that they're in the regulators' crosshairs. Because I've been a big bull on Amazon for a long time. I think they've got one of the best and innovative businesses out there. But if they're going to be always in the regulators, say it again, crosshairs, then it's going to be tougher, I think, for them. So maybe you start to see the shift into some other areas of the market. And again, it could be within tech, could be within the semiconductors. I like Taiwan Semiconductor here, right? It's trying to resolve itself out of this bull flag, right? Taiwan Semiconductor, I think pretty interesting. Yeah, so copper, metals and mining, I think those are some interesting areas. Silver continues to see calls, right? I think the silver chart is a little bit, is not really giving a great signal. It's still below the 50-day moving average, but I'm watching it, and we continue to see a lot of call activity. So somebody's interested in this thing, so worthwhile to kind of keep an eye on it, I think. So perhaps some of these groups, can get going a little bit. What else? Like Tech Resources is another one. Again, that has resistance up at 1476. Another one that I keep seeing a little drips and drabs of call activity too is SSRM. All right. Again, kind of looks like that silver chart. Not much going on there. But it won't take much. All it will take is basically one green candle for this group, if it starts to catch, and people are going to get drawn to it, right? Because they've been kind of flatlining for a bit, right? You get that 3 or 4% day, it's going to draw people in, right? It's going to draw the momentum call buyers in and more eyes on these things. All right, so be on the watch for that, because I think these things make sense to pay attention to. Netflix, let me just go over a couple names for earnings really quickly. Netflix, I did trade this for earnings. This is not working for me right now. I need to see Netflix stay above 500. So there was a VPOC that was taken out, right? I talked about this in the room. I tend to, Netflix is one, I believe, has gone down 7 out of the 10 last quarters, so it does tend to go down to that direction. Let's see what it does here with that version point of control being taken out, and see if it bounces in the next couple days. Like I said, I sold an iron condor, which is selling a call spread, selling a put spread, but I need this thing to kind of hang on a little bit from here on. Snap, big winner, up to 34. They're helping move. Pinterest is up on this. Facebook is up after hours. Teradyne just reported earnings. Looks like they're up a little bit. Texas Instruments. iRobot, I'm not sure why they're not up. They're down to 93. They raised guidance. Good numbers. Maybe there's something else in their quarter. I didn't get a chance to read it yet. All right, guys, that's it. Video's already 23 minutes long. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow.